Hey, Guy Powell here, and welcome to the next episode of the backstory on the Shroud of Turin. If you haven't already done so, please visit guypowell.com and sign up for more episodes. And find out also about my book, which is The Only Witness, which is a history of the Shroud of Turin, and it traces a possible history of the Shroud as it traveled from Jerusalem on that. I don't know if you'd call it a good day or a bad day, but certainly the resurrection is so important to Christianity. So I'm going to say on that great day, as it traveled from Jerusalem to where it is now in Turin, Italy. Today, though, I have a very special guest and very different than what I normally do. And my special guest is Olivier Bonnassies, and he is one of the co-authors with Michel-Yves Bonneray of a book that is just selling like hotcakes. He's apparently sold almost 400,000 copies. The title of the book is God, the Science, and the Evidence. And there it is. And I'm definitely looking forward to reading it. It is an international bestseller. And wow, to sell 400,000 copies is incredible. So, Olivier, welcome and so good to have you.
Hello, Guy. Very happy to be
So,
there with you to speak about all this.
absolutely. So Olivier is in Paris right now, and he lives a
Yes.
little bit outside of Paris. And I've been to Paris many times, and been, of course, to many of the cathedrals there. And just wow, what a wonderful city! And of course, the Notre Dame has been totally renovated and totally rebuilt, and I am so much looking forward to it. But Olivier, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's talk a little bit about your book.
Yes. What can we tell people about this book, God, the Science, the Evidence? Perhaps we can say that on Earth, everyone seeks happiness, but how to find it? And everyone has his own worldview, but is it the right one? If we don't have a good worldwide worldview, we will be led in wrong directions and in the dead ends. We need all to find truth, light, hope, and we need to have a solid grounding. And to find the right answer, you need to address the question of the existence of God, because it's one of the most important questions of our lives. When I was 20, I was not a believer at all, and I thought that believers were irrational people. And by chance, I received a book from a Catholic um, who tried to explain that it exists a lot of very strong, rational reasons to believe in God and in Jesus. And I was absolutely against this idea at this time, and I took the book in order to find the flaw, to find where it's wrong. And I was very surprised to discover that it was very strong. And as you don't change your mind in this kind of things in 5 minutes, I study for weeks, months, and even 2 years. And after a large study, I was convinced that the case was very strong. So it was a big, and I changed my life because of this. I was studying science, and I went to study theology. And okay, it changed all my life because at the end, this question, if God does not exist, everything is permitted, like Dostoevsky was saying, because there is no such thing as good or evil, no natural law, no purpose, no future, no eternal life, nothing remains, and no one wants us or waits for us. We are just, if God does not exist, we are just clusters of cells in a particular configuration of atoms brought together by chance by the forces of physics or chemistry, and there is no sense. So it's a rather dark vision, but perhaps it's the right vision. So, and in the opposite, on the contrary, if God exists, there is someone who wants us there. There is good and evil. There is a purpose. There is a future. There is an eternity. And all what we can build in this eternity has infinite value compared to everything that happens on earth because it remains. So the answer to this question is a key question. It's very key for your life, for your choices. So it's strange and curious that we don't talk more about this key issue. It's not in the public debate a lot. Perhaps because people think that this question is indeterminate, unanswerable, or undecidable. And you have a lot of reasons to believe this, because you look at the world, you have many people who are believers, many who are not believers, very clever and smart people everywhere. So with your small brain, how can you be sure that you will have you can reach a certainty? In fact, we can say that classical philosophy or religion say the opposite, say that it exists reasons and proof of God. And with this book, we made an investigation on this case, and we totally agree. We think that this question today is being framed in completely new terms, and it's a fact of which the public remains largely unaware, because there is a possibility to answer because of three things. The first one is that the two theses, God exists and God does not exist, had real world implications. For example, if God does not exist, as we said, there is no good or evil. But you can say also that the universe should be eternal in one way or another in the past, because if there is a beginning, there is a God. So all the atheist visions of the world, from philosophers, from scholars, from scientists in the past, they all said that the universe was there forever in the past. There is an infinite amount of time in the past. Okay, we can say also, if you are an atheist, that everything happens by chance or randomness, that there is no revelation, no miracle, no prophecy, nothing like this. So all this can be tested, can be looked by science. And so it's a matter of knowledge. It's not a matter of faith. It's a matter of knowledge, therefore of evidence. And what is the third point is that there is a progress of knowledge today as much more than ever. And as the answer is binary, God exists or God does not exist, as the knowledge progress, we will have more and more clarity. It will be more and more clear, the answer. So when you look at our book, you can be afraid because it's about science, modern science, which sometimes is complicated, and it's a very thick book. And you can say, oh la la, it's not for me. But not at all, because this book was written for you, for me, for ordinary people. It's an investigation like journalists. We took 4 years to write this book, and we met a lot of top scientists, a lot of top specialists, and we wrote this in order that it could be very up to date and very accurate, of course, but also very accessible and easy to read. We have 25 chapters, and they are independent. It means that you can look at the table of contents and say, today I will look at this, and you read 20 pages, and it's okay. You don't need to read the 600 pages from the beginning to the end. So because of this, and by chance, our book was a very important success in Europe. And I think it's a book that was missing. It's very original to deal with such complicated problems and make it simple. Make it simple so that, and at the end, it's very simple. And what are the two conclusions of our book, we can say? The two conclusions, the first one is that there is a remarkable convergence of evidence across all fields. We are in this book answering a very limited question: is there a God or not? We are not dealing about who is God, what does he want, what does he say, how to live with him. No, this is religion. Our book is not about religion, it's about knowledge. So we are looking, is it possible that there is nothing else that the material universe, or is it mandatory that it exists something outside that created all this? And a very limited question, but and with a very limited approach, only one angle, rationality. And we are examining 12 different cases from science, but also in philosophy, in morality, in history, with some of the most important enigmas of our history. And the conclusion is that there is a convergence. You see, when you are Sherlock Holmes and you are making an investigation, you are looking for the convergence of evidence, because there is not, in the real world, there is not absolute proof. You have absolute proof in mathematics, or if you play
Mhm.
chess, or in limited universes, you can say, okay, math in 3 moves. But you cannot say that in the real world. So you have to look at evidence. And today we can say that there is much more evidence than ever. That's the first point. And the second conclusion is that we had a special focus on science, because for centuries, science seems to be able to explain the world without the hypothesis of God. But we have what we call a great reversal. That's the graph of this great reversal. You see, for
Mhm.
4 centuries, from Copernicus to Freud, via Galileo, Kepler, Laplace, Darwin, um, science answers a lot of incredible questions without the need of God. And at the end of this, Marx and Freud, who claimed to be scientists, they said that the religion was toxic. It was the opium of the people. So all this create a very strong materialist and scientific current that dominated intellectually in the past. And we could imagine that it will continue like this forever, but not at all. Because in one moment, at the end of the 19th century, thermodynamics, then quantum mechanics, relativity, the discovery of the expansion of the universe, discovery of the Big Bang, the discovery of complexity in biology, or all the fine tunings of the universe, all this create a very different picture. We can summarize, we can say that there is 4 facts. The first one is that we live in what we call a space-time. Einstein demonstrated that we are in a space-time where space, time, and matter are linked. The second point is that all this had an absolute beginning. It's not only the Big Bang. 7 different rational approaches said that it's impossible that there is an infinite amount of time in the past. And third, there is a fine-tuning of every parameter of the universe. The initial data of the universe, the 4 forces, the value and the ratio of the 4 forces of the universe, and the laws of quantum mechanics, physics, chemistry, and biology. All this is absolutely adjusted and calibrated. So, with this new picture, you can say that if there is a beginning to time, space, and matter, the cause at the origin of this emergence is by definition outside space, outside time, and outside matter. It has the power to create everything that exists, and it also calibrates and adjusted everything in order that we can be there. So through science, you rediscover the basic definition of God that is you have in philosophy or religion. That is to say, a transcendent being outside our universe who had the power to create everything and also adjusted everything so that we can be there. And the last point, the last important point, is that every alternative theory that try to explain all this without God have so far failed or are very difficult to sustain. All the theories of the multiverse, the string theory, the theory of everything, the idea of a universe created from nothing, things like this are crazy or not serious at the end. So the picture is totally different. And at the end, at the end, what strikes me a lot is that it's very simple. It's very simple. A child can understand this. If you have a beginning of something very, very adjusted, you need an intelligence outside to create this. I insist on one point. The beginning is not only the beginning of time and matter, it's also the beginning of space. And
Mhm.
Father Georges Lemaitre, who was of the first to discover this, he insists on this. He said it's the beginning of space because as soon as you have space, you have time and matter. Uh,
Mhm.
but the beginning of space, it's incredible because it's what is around us here was created in one moment. So the apparition of space uh, is, of course, the cause of something outside space.
Mm.
So that's why at the end, I think it's very simple and everybody can understand and everybody should look at this because this question is a key question and it's very important. Today we have a lot of new material to understand this.
Yeah, wonderful. That's I like those four dimensions, and I never would have thought that the creation of space leads to the creation of matter and then the creation of time. That's a fantastic way to
Yes,
look at that, and it's very interesting to take then all of the scientific theories and hypotheses and the laws that we kind of understand or try to understand and then bring that into answering the question that God either exists or he doesn't exist. And wow, what an interesting way to put that.
you know, in the real world, we have, as soon as you have space, you have what we call quantum fields. And it means that even if you are in a total vacuum, you have fields, existing fields in the quantum mechanics that creates particles in the time. So you have matter, you have energy, you have time as soon as you have space. And so I think it's a very convincing conclusion. And the reason why you have a beginning, you have several different approaches that said that there is a beginning. The first one in science was thermodynamics, because thermodynamics was discovered in the 19th century by Carnot, Clausius, Boltzmann, and we are in our book, we speak of a fireplace. If you see a fireplace, you see logs in the fireplace, and logs will become in a few hours ashes. But we have never ashes that become logs because there is irreversible processes in thermodynamics. There is an arrow of time, irreversible things. So the scientists would discover thermodynamics. They said, okay, the sun and the stars are exactly the same as a fire in a fireplace. They are burning, and in a long time, they will cease to exist. And the question is, why are they burning now? Because if the universe was infinite in the past, they should have ceased to exist for an infinite amount of time. So they said there is a beginning. But the problem is that as soon as you have a beginning, you have a God because it's the beginning of everything, time and all the other. So atheists understand very well that there is a problem if you have a beginning. For example, we have a very original chapter here about the noir thriller of the Big Bang, because all the scientists who in Russia, in St. Petersburg, who discovered Alexander Friedman was the first one to say the universe should be expanding. Um, and he had disciples, and all his disciples were persecuted, were killed, tortured, sent to Gulag, not because they were acting in politics. They were only working on physics, but physics was saying there is a beginning. And for the communist atheist regime of Russia, it was impossible because they were atheists and they say the universe is eternal. And because they know that if there is a beginning, there is a God. So this persecution of the scientists in Russia, but also in Germany and in China, everywhere where the regime was atheist, it was because they said there is a beginning. And so, in fact, as I said, it's something very clear. And the beginning is something that cannot, the atheists cannot explain, but they cannot also explain the fine tuning of the universe. Because the fine tuning is something clear because on something like 20 or 30 parameters, we win in the lottery every time. You know, if you organize a lottery among 8 billion people of the earth, chance exists. So that if you have this lottery, for example, on Sunday, you will have one guy that will say, okay, I win the lottery. So you interview him and say, you have a lot of chance. Say, oh, yes, I have a lot of chance. It's incredible. But if you are making the lottery the next Sunday and the next Sunday, next week and next week, and it's always the same who win, if you go and see him and say, oh, yeah, I have a lot of chance. And no, the police will come and say, no, you are cheating. It's not possible to win every day. So in our situation, we win. We won in the past every day in the beginning of the universe, on the expansion rate of the universe, on the density of energy of the universe, on the mass of the proton, the mass of the electron, the ratio between the nuclear force and the weak nuclear force, the ratio on the electromagnetic force and the gravity force. All this is absolutely incredibly adjusted and calibrated. And if it was a little different, we will not be there to talk about this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very interesting. And that it sounds like the one of the key thoughts, or one of the key, the fundamental things in your book is that the Big Bang is a if that happened, then that is really kind of the proof that there is a God. I mean, certainly there's other ones, but it sounds like that is the key item that really demonstrates that there is an existence of God. Is that correct?
Yes, and you know what is very surprising is that we have the chance because we had a lot of talks and debates for since 4 years now because we had the chance to work with top scientists. For example, when we published our first book, the preface was from Robert Wilson, a Nobel Prize winner in the US, the one who discovered the echo of the Big Bang because he read our chapter about cosmology and he said, yes, it's very good, but perhaps I can add something. And at the end, after a little uh, dialogue like this, he said, perhaps I can make the preface. And we say, of course, yes, you can. And we had the chance to discuss with 10 Nobel Prize winners and 25 top scientists with whom we co-produced 4 documentaries. And after this, we continue to talk with them. For example, we were a few weeks ago in Princeton and in Berkeley to talk with Nobel Prize winners and top scientists. And we said to them, okay, that's what we are saying in our book. Do you think it's true? Do you think, are you okay with this idea that we are in a space-time? And they say, yes, of course, we are 100% okay. Are you okay with this idea that there is an absolute beginning? Sometimes they say, perhaps not sure, but and at the end of the discussion, most of the time they say, okay, it's the mainstream vision today. We are absolutely clear on this. So, do you agree about the fine tuning? Yes. So, with these 3 things, do you agree that God is a good hypothesis to answer this particular situation? And they say, of course, yes. But if we say God, us as scientists, we stop working. If we want to continue to work, we have to try to find natural explanation for this. But for the moment, we have nothing. They all say, for the moment, we have nothing that works. And I was joking and saying, it's not only for the moment that you have nothing, because if there is a beginning to time, space, and matter, forever, the cause will be outside. You
Mm.
cannot imagine, it's not for now, it's forever. So, and it's very impressive, this kind of dialogues that we have, because we are speaking with the top scientists. And
Right.
we are trying to make it simple so that people can understand.
Yeah, wonderful. So I'm sure you must get this question all the time. So then, where did God come from? If God exists
No,
and then he created the universe, then where did he come from?
yes,
He,
it's a very old question. In the one of the first atheists, whose name was Parmenides in Greece, he proposed a principle on which quite everyone is okay. This principle is ex nihilo nihil, which means from nothing, nothing can come. If one day you had absolutely nothing, nothing could exist in any time, because nothing will come. But Parmenides say, okay, we are okay on this principle, but today something exists. So there was no time when there is nothing. So something has always existed. There a
Mhm.
being, and he, as he was an atheist, he said, okay, it's the universe. The universe has always existed. But there is another possibility. God, being outside the universe, who has always existed and created a universe that has not always existed. So for centuries, but we are sure with a logical approach that something has always existed. There is something that has no cause, that has its own existence by itself. And we call it God, but some others said, no, it's the universe. But today, thanks to discoveries in science, it's absolutely difficult to say that the universe could have been there forever and that there is an infinite amount of time in the past.
Mm.
You know, and it's not only science. If you have a rationality, you say if you look in the future, you say if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you never stop, you will go to the infinite, but it will always remain what we call a potential infinite, something that you will never be able to say, okay, I reached the infinite, that's done. No, you will always progress
Hmm.
forever and never reach the infinite. And for the same reason that beginning from now, you will never reach infinite, you cannot come from infinite and reach now. If you put a mirror
Hmm.
between the future and the past, you cannot go through infinity. So the one who discovered this was in the 6th century after Jesus Christ. He was a disciple of Aristotle, and he said that his name was Philoponus, and he said we can have a potential infinite in the future, but not in the past. So there is a
Hmm.
beginning. It's impossible that there is no beginning. And when you said that there is a beginning, it's a game over on the question of God. It's
Yeah,
finished.
yeah,
And
yeah.
now science, it's not only thermodynamics and rationality, you have also mathematics, physics, cosmology, the Big Bang, the impossibility of cyclical universes. A lot of different approaches say you have a beginning. And after this, all is simple. And as I told
Yeah.
you, we want in this book, we wanted to have a comprehensive overview. So we are looking at science, but not only science, also physics, cosmology, biology, with the fine tuning in biology, with incredible fine tuning in biology, of course. But we are looking at philosophy, morality, uh, and the great enigmas such as the Bible, the Jewish
Hmm.
people, Jesus, and the miracle of Fatima. All this
Hmm.
creates something, in our opinion, a very convincing case
Yeah.
in favor of God.
So it sounds like you interviewed many different Nobel Prize winners. Were there any that did not agree with you that there was a beginning, or were there any that you had to really convince, so to speak, to do that?
In fact, many of them are not non-believers or atheists. And when we are speaking of the beginning, they say, okay, we understand your way of thinking, saying that there is a beginning, but perhaps there is something that we did not catch for the moment and that we will find one day that okay. So they are always most of the ones who are not believers, and there are many, they said that for the moment, we don't know, but perhaps one day we will know. But for me, it's not, it, how can I say this? And there is something else. I can tell you in our book, we have a very interesting chapter, a chapter about that quotes 100 scientists and voilà, 100
Hmm.
leading scientists, essential citation from
Citations.
leading scientists.
Yep.
And the citation number two is from Roger Penrose. Roger Penrose is
Yep.
one of the most important scientists today. He worked with Stephen Hawking. He was absolutely he's a Nobel Prize winner of 2020. And he wrote this sentence that you will find in our book in the page 264. He said, in order to have a world with a low state of entropy needed in order to have stars, galaxies, and things like this, the creators must adjust with an accuracy, must adjust the density of energy and matter with an accuracy of one part to 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 123. And it's an incredible number, so it's an incredible figure. And he speak of the creator. And after this, so to summarize, he said that the improbability of a setting that allows us to exist is absolutely incredible, a figure that we cannot imagine. But after this, he said he's not a believer. So I asked John Lennox, a friend of us, from a well-known mathematician from Oxford, how can Roger Penrose write this and say he's not a believer? And John Lennox told me, you cannot imagine the pressure of the academics in science.
Yeah.
And that's true, because I can tell you that we work with top scientists and they review our book, our chapters, but they say, please don't mention us in the book, because if my career will be destroyed. No, no, a lot. So there is a pressure in order to say we cannot say things like this, but at the end, we need to a little courage in order to say the truth on all this.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, that is so interesting, and I really appreciate that. And we've got a break, though. Unfortunately, we're about at the end of our time. And but Olivier, thank you so much. Is there any one last thing that you'd like to mention before we close?
No, I can tell you that when I was 20, I was not a believer, and I had this surprise to discover that there is many very strong reasons to believe in God and in Jesus. And the conclusion of our book is that the last chapter, the conclusion of chapter 25, is that materialism is an irrational belief today. I can tell you that many people will be surprised to discover at this, because it's at the end it's very compelling and it's very impressive to see how many reasons to believe you have, and how small reasons to have not to believe.
Yeah, yeah. How true, how true. Well, Olivier, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and congratulations. That's such a great topic, and to be able to come up with this kind of, I don't know if I'd call it surprising, but certainly well thought through result. And then also that with the success of your book, it must really be making an impression on a lot of people. So fantastic, and kudos to you. So for the audience, just wanted to say thank you as well, and hope you enjoyed hearing about Olivier Bessonnier. Sorry if I don't have your last name quite right.
Bonnassies, Olivier Bonnassies.
Bonnassies, that's it. Sorry, Olivier Bonnassies, and his book is God, the Science, and the Evidence. And where can people find your book? Where's the best place to find your book?
In every bookstores and also on internet everywhere. You have our website, godthesciencetheevidence.com.
God, the Science, the Evidence.com. So to my audience, definitely check out this book and read it. I've been looking at some of the reviews, and it really does seem to make a lot of sense. And I really appreciate your time today. And so, for the audience, thank you very much. And please stay tuned for many other videos in this series of the backstory on the Shroud of Turin. And if you'd like to, please send us a comment and give us your reviews on what you think. Olivier, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Guy.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.